Absolutely. I've been very engaged. I will continue to stay engaged on any issue related to economic development, our economy, job creation. I've said many times that the economy and job creation and economic development are my top priorities, and we've had some real success in my first year in office in terms of bringing jobs to Iowa, creating these new green-collar jobs. At the same time, we continue to have concerns with announcements from Pella Windows and Winnebago and Wells Fargo, and so we have to continue to be vigilant and aggressive when it comes to keeping our economy strong, and I'm making that a priority.
Governor, based on what your economic advisors are telling you, do you feel that it's too early or that it's not necessary for the legislature to look at a state stimulus plan?
Well, I think it's good to start having that discussion, and I'm glad that there's an interest upstairs in doing that. Again, we need to take every step possible to make sure that our economy stays on track. However, I have said that until we know exactly what they're going to do in Washington, I think it's a little premature to react. But it's nice to have some options on the table, and I expect we'll talk about that today.
Having said that, how do you characterize what you're looking to do then today? You're not looking to come out with decisions today then, right? Is this
more of a briefing on where we are and what I'm trying to do in Washington with members of Congress to help the state of Iowa? That's number one. Number two is to get their input, to hear them out on what they would like to do. For example, maybe they'd like more help with the federal Medicaid program than roads and infrastructure. I'm going to ask them to kind of prioritize for me their wish list. Now, the really good news in all this is when our economic advisors, I have a council of economic advisors, about a dozen people from the state of Iowa, professors, economists, investors, and the overall feeling on Friday was that our economy is really in pretty good shape for many of the reasons that I've discussed. And this is not a time to be fearful. We have to be optimistic. We have to be vigilant. We have to be strong. There's no reason that Iowans should fear this economic situation, especially here in Iowa. Now, that might not be the case in California, where you're looking at a $14 billion budget deficit, Michigan, $10 billion deficit, hit hard by the automotive industry there in terms of the layoffs. And so each state has their own concerns, and we have some. We have some, and especially in terms of our financial services. We want to make sure that we keep these companies in Iowa that are in the financial services field viable and strong. And that's why I mentioned the Wells Fargo and the Citicorp announcement do raise some concerns, but overall, if you look at it together, Iowa is in a pretty good place right now. We just want to get better, we want to get stronger, we want to create more jobs, and I want to make sure I'm taking every step to accomplish those goals.
Governor, what would be a possible rationale for not taxing that, levying the state income tax on the rebate?
Well, the obvious answer is that's more money that goes into our economy. It goes directly into the Iowa economy, and instead of limiting how much Iowans can spend, they would clearly have a lot more discretion and more money to spend if it weren't taxed. And that's what we're trying to do here. The goal is to stimulate the economy. That's why it's an economic stimulus package. And if you take a big chunk of that and take it out of their pockets, you're not going to have the same impact.
The
argument the last time when the state did accept that was that the state shouldn't garner a windfall from
Right.
this. Is that
Well, I think that's a good argument too. I mean, I think the number one, this isn't meant to be a windfall for the states. It's not meant to balance a state budget. It is meant to stimulate a state's economy. But I think the best reason against it is because you're taking money out of the economy and you're limiting how much people can spend of the rebate they're given.
Given Iowa's strong position, are you concerned that when this all works out in Congress, states that are in worse shape and have more pull within Congress, although Senator Grassley probably can counter that, but are you concerned Iowa will get the short end on this and other states that are in good shape?
I'm not. I do think it's possible that Congress at some point will maybe give a little preference to a handful of states that are clearly in a deep recession right now. But I think we're actually going to come out ahead, given my role as the point person for the Democratic Governors Association and Senator Harkin and Senator Grassley's seniority in the Senate, and the fact that we now have an extra new member of Congress, and we've got more members of Congress than we've had in more than a decade. I think it's a pretty good team. So I think we're actually better off than some states in a similar position.
Senator Wick sent an email out just before this calling for an immediate economic stimulus package. One of the things that he suggested that you do is decrease your spending increase by half. So instead of 6% increase, 3%. Can you respond to that?
Well, actually, I have proposed roughly a 3% increase in spending. The other 3% is our investments that we decided to make last year. Leader Wick and the overwhelming majority of members on both sides of the aisle supported that 3% commitment for teacher pay, for allowable growth, for early childhood education. So my budget is lean. We've made some tough decisions already, and we've proposed only $36 million in new spending overall. So you have built-in cost related to Medicaid, for example, that you can't control, that you must honor. We've made a significant 3% of the total amount that I've suggested in spending was decided on last year for the Power Fund and for a number of other things that I've already talked about. So we've done the heavy lifting. The challenge now is for the members upstairs to send me a budget that protects our priorities, protects our $600 million cash reserves, and allows us to build on the progress we've made. I've been criticized for not spending enough upstairs by Republicans and Democrats, and now they're asking me to, in many cases, to spend more. Community colleges is one area where some people believe we didn't invest enough. Well, I invested $3 million of the $36 million that we've spent in new money in community colleges. That represents about a 2.5% increase in their budget, which is consistent with the 2.5% projected rate of growth. So what I'm trying to be here is fiscally conservative and disciplined in how we make this budget work. But I'm very open to hearing Senator Wick and others out on what they think we should do. That's why I'm having the meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.